welcome to the Chico Chamber of Commerce and Downtown Chico Business Association Chico City Council Candidate Forum. My name is Tony Scott, and I'm the chair of the board for the Chico Chamber of Commerce. This morning we have two moderators with us, Rick Anderson. Rick Anderson is the first vice chair for the board of directors for the Chico Chamber of Commerce, and Carol DiGiovanni, a member of the Downtown Chico Business Association. If I could have all chamber and DCBA board members stand and raise your hands, just so you can see who's in the audience today. So thank you for being here. And with us this morning is also several young professional organization members who will be collecting question cards, so if they could raise their hands as well. There's one in the back of the room and another at the other side of the room, Natasha and Danny. So they will be collecting question cards throughout the morning. A special thank you to our legacy sponsors, Levity HR and Payroll, Golden Valley Bank, Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, and Tri-Counties Bank. I'd also like to thank our visionary partners, Alliance for Workforce Development, Anderson and Associates, Enloe Medical Center, Five Star Bank, Healthy Solutions Insurance Services, LRT Graphics, PG&E, Recology Butte-Colusa Counties, TransferFlow, and Walmart. Thank you to our members and partners for supporting the chamber. And a big thank you to the coffee and donut sponsors this morning, which I think is the best part of the morning. Dutch Brothers and the Card Center and Tolar AV, who is making it possible for everybody to hear us this morning. Coffee and donuts are complimentary, so if you need a little break, feel free to run over there, except for everybody up here. And thank you to the candidates for joining us, and for the audience for attending. As a point of reference, on your chair this morning is our community vision report. The Chico Chamber of Commerce is hot off the presses, released our final first piece on our community vision and metrics that we have for moving our community forward. So we invite you to take a look at that, and if you have any questions afterwards, feel free to, any of the board members who were standing up and waving their hands this morning, feel free to chat with them about that. Media and broadcasting today, BCAC is recording to broadcast this on public television, which is why we have the harsh lighting here. Audio is being recorded to podcast after the event, and we do have media in attendance today. You can turn in your question cards this morning. The YPO members, like I said, will be collecting throughout the event. And questions from the audience that don't get answered will be sent a questionnaire following the event. So we're hoping to address as many questions as possible. Obviously, we do have a lot of candidates here today, so we want to give them all enough time. And we know we won't get to everybody's questions, so we will be trying to circulate those afterwards. On October 19th, if you don't get enough this morning and you really want to spend a little bit more time knowing how to vote, the Young Professionals Organization is hosting a candidate mixer. It'll be from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at 220 Restaurant, and it's free and open to the public. So we just invite everybody here this morning to join us at that as well. A reminder to the candidates to keep comments brief and to the time allotted. Kelly here will be our timekeeper for the morning, so she'll be giving you, there's no stoplight, but we do have some cards that are helpful. So yellow and red. And then moving forward, we're going to jump into some of our first questions. So I will turn it over to Rick.
Great. And so with that, Tony, I'm going to just talk a little bit about the format. There will be some quick poll questions that Tony will be reading, and those, after she does the quick poll, she's going to ask you guys just to raise your hand and give us a, quick, do you agree, do you disagree, do you oppose, do you, whatever. She'll frame that up. So it's going to be a quick poll because we don't have time for a lot of questions. So you just get to get on the record with where you are on a given topic very quickly. You'll love that, I'm sure. And then Carol and I will be alternating as we jump back and forth from the quick quick poll to our questions, and you will get, as Tony said, 1 minute to answer that. So you really want to think about that. Now, we decided to do something a little bit interesting, and that is that, you know, instead of it being predictable and like going down the row, we actually have a sombrero. And it's got all of your names in it, and we'll just like pick out names as we go, and so you might be first, you might be last, you might be first every time, you know, whatever. So we'll just kind of see what happens. So be ready, right? So, Tony, you want to go ahead and do our first quick poll?
Sure. So the first quick poll question is, if you support Proposition 57, the Public Safety and Rehabilitation Act of 2016, could you raise your hand? And raise your hand if you oppose Proposition 57. Thank you.
All right, you've seen the results of our first quick poll, and now I get to ask the first question, and here it is. So we've seen the results of ideologues and dogmatic positions in all levels of government and across on all sides of the aisle, right? So convince us today that you will be willing to reach across the community and across the council dais to work effectively and in partnership for solutions that move Chico forward. By the way, that's our expectation of the City Council as well. You've got a minute to convince us that that's what you would do. Go ahead. Oh, our first person, Carol. Up first is Carl Borey. Carl?
Forgive me if I have a little bit of a tremor. It's nothing too serious. It came from my mom. You know, we've had a Hatfield and McCoy kind of culture here in Chico for too long. It's time for us to really focus on issues. I think we've had some real distractions. And it takes a Hatfield to make peace with McCoy, I think, or the other way around. And I'd be quite willing to be that person. I've worked very hard with the airport folks, for example, where Mr. Wall and I are in the same room and agreeing and working on issues. And I think when we really focus and know what the important issues are, it's a lot easier to get beyond the distractions.
Thank you, Carl. Lisa Duarte.
Hello, everyone. I think a lot of cities have really good ideas, and if we work with those, like San Jose with their homeless, we can bring a lot of good ideas to Chico to make this a better place to live. So that would be one of the things that I think would be a good idea, because a lot of other cities have really fresh ideas, and we need to bring more fresh, new ideas to this city to make it a lot better than it is right now.
Cool, thank you very much. Mr. Randall Stone.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the question. You know, I have a history already in my 4 years on the council of working pretty aggressively across the aisle, and that was represented by my original election to office. I noted based on the precincts and their allotment, I did very well in conservative communities as well as liberal community. But you know, my history moving forward with ordinances in the city of Chico has demonstrated that as well. I proposed the butane honey oil ordinance, which was unanimously approved. I worked with alternative custody supervision and created that program in the city of Chico in joint cooperation with the sheriff's office, and got all of my colleagues together in order to rally support for that event, which we're continuing to expand into city services. So I have a pretty extensive history on this.
Thank you. Mr. Jeffrey Glass. Jeff.
And to answer your question, I agree that this is an issue in Chico. I've occasionally gone to the city council meetings, it's almost like toxic environment. Sometimes I think politics is playing just a little bit too much of a role. I think we're supposed to remember we're all supposed to be a nonpartisan community. And because of that, we have to look at the goals of the city or our individual goals. And I think sometimes the members think of a national level when they're just thinking of the local level. And I think if everybody remembers their job is to represent the city, everybody should be working together. If there's an issue with that, then that needs to be controlled within the council. They need to talk amongst themselves to get the people on the right track. And everyone needs to represent the citizens of the city and not their own personal agendas on the council.
Thank you, Jeff. Sean Morgan, you're up next.
Thank you. Anyone who's seen the community vision report knows the chamber has seen the good work the city council's done in recent years and is fully promoting staying on the course we've worked so hard together to get on, where they speak a healthy business environment, increased public safety and financial security. They're echoing statements I've been repeating for years. So now as we're moving in the right direction, I welcome the momentum the chamber can offer as we work together to make Chico clean, safe, and more financially secure. We've worked together on internal affairs. We've worked together on the finance committee to do some of the massive pivots we've made 4 years ago, more specifically 2 years ago. I'm committed to keeping that happening regardless of partisanship.
Thank you. John Scott.
Well, as Jeffrey pointed out, it is a nonpartisan office, and we're all citizens of Chico. So, it's not whether there's one side of the aisle or the other side of the aisle. It's what is best for our community at large. And so, if I'm lucky enough to have all of you put your confidence in me and put me on the council, my only position on every issue will be how do we advance the interest of the entire community. And we all live in the same place, so if we really get down to it, what's good for one citizen should, for the most part, be good for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, Loretta Torres.
Thank you for coming and waking up early this morning to hear our positions. For me, this is good ideas. Good ideas should not have a position of left or right. They should be good ideas. And I put this to work in my personal life, building a house with my husband as I designed it. I knew going in it would be a hard deal when we each had our own personal, strong ideas about how the house should look. But when we opened ourselves up to talking and not having a perfect, strong position, but opening our eyes and came up with I hate that word, a compromise, we actually came up with an idea that neither one of us had thought of before. It worked better. So this is how I hope to do things in the city council. Good ideas. That's the essence. Good ideas that will work.
Thank you, Loretta. Ann Schwab, you are next.
Thank you. I'm not sure if what we're seeing is partisan politics or passionate politics. People in Chico are engaged. You see that by the number of people that come out to council meetings and have an opinion on the different issues. I remember when I was mayor and came into the room that was filled with people who wanted to talk about Walmart. And I thought, how am I going to handle this? I made some quick notes on an index card that I keep referring to this day. And those words were listen, consider, respect, and civility. And I told the group the public that were there tonight with their opinions, that it was important that we listened and gave space to everyone that had an opinion, and that we really considered their opinions and respected them. And throughout it all is civility. This council is united on its top priorities, top 5 priorities, number 1 being public safety. And when we agree that this is the Chico that we want, we come together. We're passionate.
Thank you, Ann. So next is Giovanni Traceri. Giovanni.
Thank you. I think this is a very important issue in the city. The issues facing our city are far too important to be involved in petty politics. We need a different approach. If you look at my approach and the history that I have with the city council from the outside, in 2014, we passed the Chico Police Staffing Plan. I wrote it. We got a group of stakeholders from a broad spectrum of people in the community, political and social spectrum, to vet it, to own it, to present it to council. And they voted on it unanimously. We need that type of approach. My approach to problem solving in this city is collaborative, bipartisan, and focused on solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Giovanni. And last up, we have Tammy Ritter. Tammy.
Thank you. So Giovanni makes a good point. The council did vote unanimously on a plan that does not include how we're going to pay for those particular positions, but shows that this council, though representing very diverse ideas, already is working across the aisles. We are already working with one another. For 4 years, I have chaired the Internal Affairs Committee, where just about every project that needs a little bit more attention gets sent. And it's really a demonstration of how well we work together, regardless of what our political affiliation or orientation is. We worked on the alcohol policy, which I'm going to say took approximately 2 years, and we worked hand in hand with the Chamber of Commerce, with the downtown businesses, with the music industry about this infamous attachment R that had so much information that people were very concerned about and what was going to happen if all of these policies were actually put into place. And we came up with a deemed approved ordinance and a conditional use permit that works for the city. Is it perfect? No, but it's closer, and we're getting there. So I believe that the council is already demonstrating that work.
Thank you very much, Tammy. Tony, I think we finished up our first round of our first question, which is kind of like an opening statement, but it's kind of a getting to know you. So, Tony, you're up, I guess.
And great job to the candidates for keeping it under a minute. That was pretty incredible. So the next question, a quick poll. Raise your hand if you endorse Measure K, the Chico Unified School District bond. And raise your hand if you oppose Measure K, the Chico Unified School District bond. Thank you. And we will turn it over to Carol.
I do.
So the next question for the candidates is, how would you suggest the city address the issues of vagrancy and homelessness, most specifically downtown and in the surrounding parks? And our first question goes to Ann Schwab.
Thank you. We need to take a different approach than we have been taking in the past on homelessness. We've seen it in many other communities where a real solution to the problem is being taken, not a Band-Aid. And it takes partnerships with the county and the state, and I believe that I've built those partnerships and can make that happen. We need to find housing for the homeless. In community after community in the United States, we have found that it costs less money to give homes to the homeless than it does to provide public safety, police calls, fire calls, hospital stays. In Charlotte, North Carolina, they took 85 chronically homeless adults, and in the first year, they saved $1.8 million. A person cannot build a life unless they have a home. That is the first step, to get a roof over people's heads. And then we can start working on getting them jobs and benefiting our community.
And the next question, the next candidate is Carl Horry.
Thank you. I appreciate the difference between vagrancy and homelessness. It's the side of homelessness that I'd like to be able to devote time and effort. I've spent my career, 30 years, in working with communities across the United States in affordable housing. And I'd like to really expand. We're not just talking about homelessness, which is thousands of people, and then another thousands that are just one paycheck away from not having a place to stay. Those that are staying on friends' couches and temporarily displaced. And those of us that just can't afford rents and housing prices. I think we need really to expand affordable family rents in town. Then looking at the vagrant side, I think our public safety people need a lot more resources. I've been looking at how San Luis Obispo and other communities deal with this, and we just don't have enough resources for police to really focus on the bad actors that are so much a focus of the part of this that is not good for Chico.
The next candidate is Jeffrey Blatz.
Thank you. It's a great question, and I think we all need to distinguish. When I look at the homeless situation, I look at it in three categories: the homeless, the transient, and the criminal. The homeless, of course, thanks, sir. The homeless, of course, need our support and our guidance, and I think if we're working with the Tory Shelter, with the Jesus Center, we could all find some great solutions. However, there's a transient element and a criminal element that live within this society. These folks need to be basically removed from our town if we can do so. The criminals need to be gone. Public safety needs to be the first priority of the City Council, even though they're saying it is. There are many votes that do not support what the police ask for when they need help with this issue. On my way over here, walking across the park this morning, 10 people sleeping in the park. Now, maybe they're safe, maybe they're not, but our children are passing through the park on the way to school, to Chico Bidwell Junior High, to high school, right by these camps. At one point, recently, the park rangers were not even allowed to approach the homeless in our parks. Now they have tasers. So basically the city's saying the park rangers could not do it, but our citizens can do it. There is an issue that needs to be resolved, but having said that, we really need to differentiate between the criminal element and the homeless element.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Yolanda Pizarro.
Thank you. We are a compassionate community. We have a community who cares for its people. The money that we are spending in this city for housing, for instance, housing subsidies far outweighs what we're spending on public safety. We need to have a balanced approach. I don't think that we need to have it match. In fact, I think that we're doing a good job in housing people who need housing. If you want housing in this community, you can get it. But we are a compassionate community. We have people here in this audience who are dedicating their lives to serving this issue very thoughtfully. We need to come to it in a very collaborative way. Working with the police department, who has a community policing model that is proven to be very collaborative, bringing people from all over the political spectrum to help address this issue. So those that need help will get it, but we also need to address the criminal element. And that is where we need to start putting more of our resources and fully staffing the police department.
So just a quick note, and that is to say we're going to give all of these folks a great round of applause at the end for their bravery. But in the meantime, we want to get through this quickly, so if you would hold your applause until we get to the very end, and then we'll definitely do that. Carol?
And candidates, don't forget to watch for your red X so I don't have to cut you off. Our next candidate is Lisa Duarte.
Pull it closer. I love the microphone. Okay. I sympathize with the homeless people. I know that they often suffer in horrible situations like drug addiction and mental illness. Currently, the homeless spend most of their time traveling between services. That's why I would like to construct a housing project for them where they have access to a safe place to stay. I want to locate this project away from commercial and residential areas, away from downtown, so that more people would want to go downtown and it'd be a lot safer for the people of Chico, and it would attract customers from outside of Chico. It's also affected by the homeless. In order to improve the city's economy and well-being, we must resolve these issues with the homeless.
Thank you. Next candidate is Randall Stone.
Well, I appreciate the question. In one of my tasks, I'm the president of the League of California Cities Sacramento Valley Division, and that provides me an opportunity to network and collaborate with a number of other communities throughout the state of California. And back to your collaboration with the other side question, I work very closely with mostly conservative council members. One of my best friends and collaborators is in Redding, Gary Cadd. He's one of the most conservative council members in that city. But I'm convinced, based on the successes that I've seen in other communities, that this must be a countywide effort. And after belaboring the point to the city manager for at least 6 months. We finally had a homeless symposium to coordinate just ideas and thoughts about what was going on with the city and county. So it needs to be a countywide effort. The county has wraparound services which will allow us to address those most expensive cases with homelessness. And I appreciate and agree with Mr. Ori's comment that there's vagrancy and there's homelessness, and these are two separate issues. One of the things I fought for was to eliminate some of the magnets to criminal elements and in this specific neighborhood here. So, thank you.
Thank you. The next is Tammy Ritter.
1 minute to cover this topic, that ought to do it. So I think I heard a candidate say that if you wanted housing in this community, you could get it. I walked out of the council chambers last night after the meeting, and sitting in the parking lot was someone that I know who was sitting in the lot with her son in the van because she had nowhere for him to go. She had no more nights available that she could have a guest at her housing, and there was no housing. She could not access the emergency shelter. She could not access our only harm reduction shelter in town. There was nothing behavioral health could do, and this young man was going to be out on the streets. So there is not enough housing. Our housing inventory is the first piece that we need to address. If we are serious about addressing homelessness, we will stop criminalizing it, and we will perhaps open up a homeless court to deal with the issues that are very specific to individuals who are living on the streets.
Thank you. The next is Sean Morgan.
Then Police Chief Trostel had a map he used to show, and he said Chico has become a destination location on the homeless highway. And I appreciate my colleagues, almost all of them, recognize the difference between vagrancy and real homeless. And for those that are homeless, truly, they need to get help. We need to work with behavioral health and do the things we can. If you want to come to our community and get better, I'm all for it. But if you've chosen the transient lifestyle, Chico is not the place for you. And in the past few years, we've passed the sit and lie ordinance, we've passed the offenses against public property and waterways ordinance, we've reinstated the target team in an effort to make our city safer for our children. Sacramento is not helping. Proposition 47 released a bunch of criminals, got rid of drug court. People don't have an incentive to go to rehab anymore. I believe that's part of the problem. We're fighting a monumental effort by Sacramento to push people out in our communities, and we need to start there. We can't solve it just here.
Thank you. Next is Loretta Torres.
This is a more than 1 minute fix, but I will repeat what I've repeated before at the City Council, where I think because we have limited funds, we need to triage in 3 ways our homeless. The ones who want to do the work, the hard work, because it's not easy to go from homelessness to having a home. We need to focus on the things the city has already in place. Then secondly, we need to work with the county, behavioral health, the mental health issues that have brought people to homelessness. And thirdly, we need to, the ones that are vagrants and choose to be, and sell perhaps drugs to our children or commit crimes, they need to be looked at, and we need to pull in the welcome mat and say goodbye. It's called tough love.
Thank you. And our last candidate to speak today is on this question is John Flack.
Thank you. This is a question that's kind of near and dear to my heart because I have an office downtown. On, I believe, Monday, myself and my 10-year-old daughter pulled up to my office to grab some papers. It was a holiday, so she didn't have school. There were, we counted 7 people sleeping, or in some version of sleep, in the parking lot, which is basically Jack's parking lot and behind the L shape of the post office. Most people don't live downtown. Most people that I talk to don't want to go downtown. If there's not a scheduled event like farmer's market or something where they feel safe, people don't feel safe. The smell of urine, the smell of defecate, You know, I keep hearing a lot about the needs of the homeless versus the vagrants, and I agree with that. However, the one need I'm not hearing is the need of every other citizen, all of you, to be able to go downtown to feel safe. Let me quote John Bidwell.
We've got a red X.
He said in 1887, any place in Rancho Chico is at your disposal, except my dooryard. Right now, everybody's door has homeless people in it. We need to solve that. I've been hearing about it for, 4 years, but we keep hearing possible solutions, but nothing seems to change. Still status quo.
Thank you, John. All right, so it's time for our next quick poll. And just as Tony gets ready to do that, just a reminder, if you've got a yellow card and you want to submit a question, feel free to do that. We're going to see if we can get a couple of these in depending on how timing goes. But again, we'll make sure that the candidates get asked the questions and we'll publish the answers. Tony?
So our last quick poll question is, raise your hand if you endorse Measure J, the Butte College bond. And raise your hand if you oppose. Thank you.
All right, so it is time for another question. This question is, the Public Works Director indicates that we are millions of dollars short in maintaining our roads and bike paths. And the police chief indicates that at this time, we are unable to fund the police staffing plan. How do you propose that we meet high priority needs like these? First up, John, since you finished up the last one, we're going to give you another opportunity. You get to go first.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, if you find police to be a problem, try living without them. We actually have a fantastic police force that I think stretches beyond anything imaginable to make us feel safe, and they do it with a great deal of professionalism. The problem is that if you've only got $1 and you've got $3 that you want to spend, you've got to figure out how to spend it. You can spend $1 attracting a vagrant, not a homeless person, or you can spend $1 working on a bike path. You can spend $1 on the element that we don't want downtown, or you can spend another $1 to get another officer on the street. In the end, if you still don't have enough money, you're going to have to get more money. And nobody likes the idea of taxes, so there needs to be a conversation with the community. What are we willing to pay for? Because right now, we don't seem to have that conversation often enough. What do we really want? What are we ready to pay for? I'm out of time. I could keep going. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let's come right down here to the end, and Giovanni, you are up.
Thank you. The police staffing plan did ask the council, while they approved it unanimously, we did ask them to do their job. We gave them 4 options that they can start exploring. It's been 2 years and we really don't have those yet. And that's part of the motivation why I am running for city council. We need to look at and tighten a little bit more. Look at what our efficiencies in the city budget need to be. Before we have the conversation on a public safety tax, we need 4 things that are in place. We need to make sure that we have exhausted all other options. And then we need to ask the city we need to direct the city to come up with 2 or 3 other alternatives. We need to have plans that we can say, okay, 1, 2, 3, okay, tax if we need it, but we need to see what the options are for the citizens. We need to build trust in the city with its citizens. This requires electing city council members who are collaborators, willing to work across party lines for the good of the city. And we need to elect council members who are laser focused on these issues, on public safety and good roads. I am your candidate. Thank you.
Thank you, Giovanni. Tammy Ritter, you are up next. The floor is yours.
Okay. So what I will say is that the leadership that we have right now at the city is one of our greatest strengths. We have a police chief right now, Chief O'Brien, who is able to work very efficiently with a crew that is not nearly the size that he needs. We have a city manager whose workforce inside City Hall has been reduced greatly, and he's working with a skeleton crew. So I'm not sure that there's anywhere that we can tighten the budget any more than we have. What I do think is that when we talk about the community needing to be involved and the ways in which the community can be involved, right now, you know, if there's some kind of offense, your bike is stolen, we go online and we use the Cop Logic system. I think in order for people to feel that their police are involved and know what's going on, we're gonna have some kind of response to people. We're gonna be helping them know that we hear their concerns and we hear where the complaints they've lodged.
Thank you, Tammy, and thank you for moving that microphone next door. Randall, you're up.
It's me, okay. You know, we're in a condition of service insolvency. That's a term that Chuck Reed used. When we have overpopulated funds to a particular group or section of the city at the expense of all other elements in the city, that's what service insolvency is. So 4 years ago, I worked very aggressively to fix the budget and provide budget accountability. And in that process, I staunchly pushed for pension reform. And we got that. We rolled back, under my leadership, we rolled back $4 million in employee concessions, unprecedented with a $43 million general fund budget. And then 2 years after that, we rolled back $1.5 million of that just for pay raises for one bargaining group. That didn't put a single new boot on the ground. That didn't fix our roads. Last night, we were talking about $14,000 that we were trying to find money for to contract out keeping the bathrooms open at Bidwell Park. It's not that we haven't figured out how to do this. It's that we have candidates, and there's one in particular today, who advocated for those pay raises for that one bargaining group that cost us $1.5 million. We don't need a public safety tax. We need to get it right and start implementing the solutions that this community demands. And that includes hiring more police officers, which I made the motion for. Thank you.
Thank you, Randall. Well, so let's go ahead and go on down to the end and hear from Mr. Sean Morgan.
I'm glad Randall said we after he took credit for pension reform. We've made a massive pivot, an about face, if you will, from massive deficit spending, salaries and employees we couldn't afford, to zero deficit, growing reserves, and a growing number of police officers. If we want to stop that forward progress, one thing that's worked really well in many economies is to raise property taxes, raise sales taxes, and chase people and businesses out of town. If we want existing businesses and new businesses to thrive or move here, we need to keep taxes low and permitting predictable. We still scare business away. In the last week, I've heard from 2 business owners that were surprised with bills from the second floor that they didn't expect. I wonder how much economic activity we've already chased away. Economic activity breeds revenue. Regulatory and tax uncertainty are job killers.
Thank you. Next up, Ann Schwab.
I think the answer to this question is not, is how do we expand our economy, expand the amount of money that we can pay for police, streets, and services that the community expects from us. We've done a lot recently with our team Chico, recognized statewide for its leadership in economic development. I brought the business spotlight to the council when I was the mayor. Police department, community policing. We're building credibility as a business-friendly community. I agree with predictability in the permit processing and reviewing what our fee structure is and having that all very predictable and making sure that there are not roadblocks to permitting processes and roadblocks to businesses. So the answer is to expand our economy.
Loretta, you are up next.
Can you repeat the question? I think I got lost in the...
You bet. So we are millions of dollars short in maintaining our roads and bike paths, and we're unable to fund the police staffing plan. How do you propose we meet high priority needs like these?
Well, I'll tell you, that's a question that more people have asked me than any other. Can you fix the pothole down my street? This is a city service. And we were hating to go back and blame 14, now $15 million famously in the hole 2.5 years ago. Until we turned that around, maintenance fell by the wayside. Only by had a minor miracle in this city to come back from that deep, deep hole. We were on the brink of bankruptcy. And the easiest thing for the city to do was let maintenance go by the wayside. I believe that the people here in this room who were here long ago, who let this happen by actually not paying attention to the bottom line, they did not do their due diligence. By watching the pennies, by watching and wisely spending our taxpayer money, can we only have a healthy city that does as much as needed in all areas.
Thank you, Loretta. And now down to Carl Ori. Carl.
Boy, 30 seconds for police and 30 seconds for infrastructure.
No, you get a whole minute.
You know, I have a master's, but my first education was the Fred Davis School of Public Administration. And I have to ask myself, what would Fred do? He would build reserves. He would keep an eye on it. We would get every question answered. And that's what I would expect from City Hall, is the information necessary. This is a 4-year conversation we need to have about policing infrastructure. But I believe that we have structural problems that are beyond, that was maybe disguised by the reserves and by the recession. We added tens of thousands of people through annexation. I read the paper, we're adding thousands of new homes. We need to look as a community of whether or not we have enough resources, and I believe we don't. I think we really need, when there's consensus, when there's unanimity on fixing roads and providing for public safety, that this city will support increases for public safety, for infrastructure.
Thank you, Carl. Yeah, it was a quick 30 seconds, right? Lisa, you are up next. Lisa Duarte.
Well, it seems like the city right now, we're just treading water. There's just no extra money. I'm sure everybody can relate to that with your own home budget. We have to find a way to get people outside the city to come in and visit and spend some of their money and promote some of the assets that we have here in the city. We have a beautiful park. We can get people to come visit Sierra Nevada, downtown. They can come shop downtown, eat dinner outside would help. And then also the university. So we have a lot of good things. We just need to reinvent the city and find a way to generate some more money. There's just no money, so.
Thank you. And Jeff, you get to wrap it up.
I get to wrap it up. Thank you very much. First of all, I guess I'll go a little negative. I didn't actually hear Tammy and Randall answer the question. They didn't say, what are they going to do going forward? So, and I hate to say I agree with Ann, but growing the economy is the way to increase your revenue for your city. You can also do it through taxes. Taxes is not a great thing to do, of course. Nobody likes taxes if you're going to attract business to your community. A public safety tax, if it was solely based for public safety, could be something to be looked at, but there's so much going on within a city level that everybody wants a piece of it, so it doesn't really work the way people want it, unless the people want to do it directly. So how do you grow your city? It's not something that happens overnight, but you have to fix your internal problems and things like this. So you have to first make the city attractive for business to come to. To do this, we have these issues with crime in this community that needs to be fixed. We could also look at hiring companies and people who do this for a living. They go out and attract business to come to your community. Regrettably, it doesn't happen in 6 months, but it can happen. It can be done if a plan is in place. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff. So, last but not least, we've got our
Up close.
final question. How would you support growing jobs and our economic base? And our first candidate is
Drum roll.
Carl Ori.
Jobs is my #1 priority. At the end of 4 years, if we have not dramatically increased the opportunity for jobs in the town, you know, what's consequences? But that, you know, that's my priority. I think having commercial air service is key to bringing in good jobs. I think there are employers now that are not coming to Chico because, you know, we're abandoned, we're isolated. I am working with a group of businesses that are countering the attitude of the current council, which isn't worth trying for, to actively talk to dependable air service providers. We need to look then at what more things what we can do to bring jobs into our community. I think healthcare and affordable housing, and I mean private sector affordable housing. I think that when I was on the council once before, we had a dearth of rental housing, and I think if we open the doors to private developers, we can get affordable rental housing, and we can expand quality health care and be able to bring employers to Chico.
Thanks, Carl. Tammy Ritter?
So when we're talking about jobs and economic development, we're not talking about one thing. There's not one solution. Yes, the airport and dependable air service would be one component. I disagree that the current council is doing nothing, as we just hired an airport manager. We now have someone who is completely dedicated to turning around the viability of the Chico Airport, which is a fantastic thing. The economic development work that we've been doing with Team Chico and that we've been doing with startups, helping small incubator businesses to grow and offering them the support and the mentorship and the ways in which we have seen other businesses in town succeed and grow. So I also think, as we're talking about it in relation to housing, I think that when we look at mixed use, we're looking at a model that is really good for Chico, that brings more economic development while simultaneously providing additional places for living.
Thank you, Tammy. Sean Morgan?
Thank you. In my first election, I made public safety a priority. We talked about it so much, I was accused of being overly repetitive. Today, you've heard every candidate talk about it. The Chamber of Commerce is making the same pledge to public safety. Everybody. Why is that? We've changed the nature of the discussion in the city of Chico. We brought in business principles, balanced budget, and proper prioritization. We have a renewed focus on our mission statement: a safe place to raise a family, an ideal location for business, and a premier place to live. Someone no one was talking about 4 years ago, but something everybody's claiming now. The deficit's paid off, the police department's being restaffed, businesses are moving back into Chico and back into the downtown. Our town is not only cleaner and safer, it's more financially secure, and that is exactly how you create economic growth and more jobs.
Thanks, Sean. Jeffrey Glatz?
All right, thank you. Kind of moving on what Sean says, we're definitely headed in the right direction, and that's a great thing. The fiscal budget is in a great place, so that we can all start moving forward at this point. We have a university in our town which we don't take advantage of. We need to create business within Chico that can attract the best and brightest out of our university so that they can stay in Chico and make it their homes. We also need to attract small, medium, and large business to the town, so that there's a bigger growth area for different type of jobs people can carry. We have enough low-income housing. For example, we need to build middle-class housing. We need to attract people that can help our community. Along the thing is that tech jobs is always a great way to try to attract business. Everyone wants to try to do that, of course, but we need developers and the community that supports that idea, can work with developers to create we're kind of more of a creative community within our community to attract these millennial type individuals so they can make Chico their home long term. This helps the city out. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Ann Schwab?
The key to the success in Chico is partnerships. That's how we will build our economic base and actualize our economic development plan. It's partnerships with the public and the private sector. We're rich with resources in Chico. Last night at our council meeting, we had President Hutchinson come and give a renewed commitment to the university's partnership to the success of the city of Chico. We want to thank the Chamber of Commerce and the DCBA for their efforts in helping us keep our eye on what that prize is of what the economic development growth in Chico. we have a opportunity to expand on those partnerships so that everyone understands what their role is in the economic development. We partner with the county. Business is interested in coming to Chico. How do we make that happen? We bring PG&E to the table, we bring the utilities, we bring the university, we bring our resources together. And that's what the city's role is to be a catalyst for partnerships.
Thank you, Ann. John Scott is our next candidate.
Well, it sounds like an argument that you hear every time you have one of these council forums. Everybody wants more jobs, but you know, nothing seems to change. We seem to be stuck with the status quo. We hear about high-tech jobs, and we hear about the university. How about a conversation with the university to become a polytechnic university? Now that would create the type of people that high-tech industry would like, and that might bring high-tech industry here. Additionally, you know, I hear a lot about a business-friendly environment. I don't think we have that business-friendly of an environment. You know, I just went through a use permit process that took me 2.5 years and $40,000, and I haven't moved anything but a piece of paper back and forth. Why I paid those fees. Why don't we let the community decide what businesses they want by voting with their dollars? Community votes with dollars by going to businesses they want, buying services and products they want, and they vote against the businesses they don't want by not going to them. And I don't see that we have that environment yet. I can go on, but I see the red X, so thank you.
Thank you, John. Loretta Torres is our next candidate.
How do we see Chico as it moves forward? I see Chico is a beautiful place. We have a wonderful magnet for businesses to come, but there has to be some building blocks first. And the first one is safety and on the streets. And how do we provide safety? We provide safety with a balanced budget, and then we have, and the third layer we have is businesses that are willing to come because they like the environment. So it's kind of an all-inclusive layer. When one layer is given up, I think, in the budget, I think we need to make sure that we have a balanced budget and the same priorities for businesses and a welcoming atmosphere here at the city council level. Once you get those layers, you miss a layer, you miss, the whole thing falls apart. It's all built on having a priority for safe community and businesses that want to come, and making sure we take care of our bottom line. Thank you.
Loretta. Our next speaker is Randall Stone.
Would have to be. I think I'm last, right? You know, I'm the only candidate up here that created 75 full-time equivalent annualized jobs, creating affordable housing, safe, decent, and sanitary housing for people that otherwise wouldn't have homes or would be couch surfing in our community. I'm the only one up here who's done that. I paid those fees. John, I feel for you with your gambling casino downtown. I warned you of some of those risks that the Downtown Chico Business Association may not support that. You can put your money where you feel it's best, whether that's black or red or downtown, but I do feel for you. Look, the key to economic development in this community is public-private partnerships. We've heard that several times from several different candidates, but I told somebody the other day I'm giddy with excitement about the leadership changes that we've had in this community. A police chief who's dedicated to community policing and responding to this community's needs, unprecedented. The university, we now have a brand new president who's dedicated to economic development, and we both recognize the value of linking our public-private partnerships together and encouraging businesses to come to this community. In 2013, all of this takes leadership. Our deficits were paid off in 2013, the police officer staffing was in 2014, Team Chico was in 2013, and pension reform was in 2014. We've stepped back the last 2 years.
Thanks, Randall. Mrs. Duarte?
So this is really kind of a tough thing. In order to get, I think, businesses to want to come here, we kind of have to make our city more attractive. If I was a business owner, I'm not quite sure I would want to open my business downtown if I had to deal with the homeless people out front. We have streets that don't have any lights. Property crimes are on the rise. I really don't feel that the city is as safe as it used to be. And I think we need to reach out to other cities, see what they're doing in order to make it more attractive for somebody to want to come here to open a new business so we can have the jobs that we need to create for the people that are here that have no jobs.
Thank you, Lisa. Last, Giovanni.
Thank you. We need to do 3 things in order to increase our economic base. And the first one, Team Chico has done a great job at establishing that foundation. 1, we need to support our local and current businesses as they are now. 2, we need to help them expand and grow. What are the things that they need in order to hire more people, to make more of their products or services? And number 3, we need to attract new businesses. Underlying all that is this belief that we all have that cities thrive when people feel safe. Safe to raise a family, safe to build a business, safe to move here, to go to school. And so one of the things that the Chamber and the DCBA have identified is focusing also on public safety. We are not there yet as far as where we need to be on having a fully staffed police department. Thank you.
Thanks, Giovanni. Now, what's the next? We've got a question from the audience, right?
Yeah, so here's what we're doing. We are going till 9 o'clock this morning, so we have time for one question from the audience. Tony has that prepared and is going to ask it. We will, as I mentioned earlier, be submitting all of these questions to all of the candidates, and depending on if we get stuff back and what we get back, we'll go ahead and get that posted on the Chamber website, so you have an opportunity for all of that. So Tony's going to read the question, then we're going to have closing statements. And this is the beginning of the election season, right? It's just after Labor Day. This is kind of the getting to know you phase. So there may be folks that you are already supporting. That's awesome. There may be folks that you're just getting to know. Now you've got an opportunity to get a sense of where they are, where they come from, what they think. And you've got a couple of months to really refine and get more information, read up, introduce yourself, go to meetings, go to events, and really decide exactly where you want to land. So wanted to just kind of underscore the purpose of this morning is to start that discussion with a pretty large field. But with that, let's go ahead and turn it over to Tony for our verbal audience, question from the audience.
Thank you, Rick. So the question from the audience is, how would you address the shortage of doctors in Chico? Currently, no pediatricians or general practitioners are taking new patients. What can the city do? So we'll give you a couple seconds to think on that.
Great. We've drawn.
Right, so
there we go. We've drawn a name.
The first person up is Randall Stone.
Last and first. Well, I think Enloe Hospital helps court and direct the doctors that come to this area. And I'm lucky enough, one of the very lucky Chico folks, my 3-year-old son has an excellent pediatrician. And our healthcare in this community that we are provided is tremendous. But not everybody has that opportunity. And even my child's first pediatrician left town because of the environment. So Enloe Hospital has a tremendous amount of pull in this regard. I'm not sure, well, I fought hard against the hospital in 2005 over some of the things that were taking place, and there was a leadership change. And immediately, things started to improve between the labor unions and the doctors. We haven't figured it out, especially with all that's going on with healthcare in this country. But I'm hopeful and expecting some level of leadership change within the healthcare providers in this community that will encourage that. And again, as public-private partnerships are, the city can help with the hospital in that regard.
Thank you, Randall. Loretta Torres.
Thank you. I think the current environment in the nation as far as national health care has impacted us in the city. And those are beyond our control. As for attracting doctors or anyone to our city, I think we need to get our priorities straight. Take care of the homeless, ensure that we have an environment, and the city actually depends on money to do its maintenance. We do our maintenance in our city, and it becomes the beautiful, shiny, beautiful gem and treasure that we all love and know. And when you do that, I think doctors and others will want to come to our city. Why not?
Thank you, Loretta. Ann Schwab?
The key to attracting healthcare professionals to our community is the key to building a strong economy in Chico. Physicians and other healthcare providers need to feel that this is a safe community. We need to continue our efforts in public safety, policing, and fire, and providing those services for our community. We need to continue with our creating the third space. What makes Chico unique? What do people do when they're not at work or they're at school or at home? It's what kind of culture and activities do we offer the city, the community members? I think it's important also to further our efforts on our diversity plan. I talked to one potential physician being attracted to Enloe, and he and his wife walked downtown, had lunch, walked around the downtown, and came back and said, "We will not move to Chico. The attitudes and the things that were said to us because of our culture are not acceptable." So we can't put our heads in the sand anymore. We have to realize that we need to make efforts to be leaders in opening our community. And also creating other jobs for partners that may be coming with that physician or healthcare worker.
Thanks, Ann.
Sean.
Sean Morgan.
So the basic question is, how do we fix a national problem locally? I had breakfast yesterday with an emergency room doctor that moved to Chico from San Luis Obispo. He left a good job in San Luis Obispo because of high property taxes, high sales taxes, and a high cost of living. So I came to Chico as an open environment, was welcome. My family loves it here. It seems like a safe place to raise my family without all those high costs. So the answer to the question, how do we help Mike Wiltermood recruit more doctors, is exactly the answer to how do we create more economic vitality. We just need to focus on the mission statement. And I say it again. I said it 4 years ago. Now the chamber's saying it. A safe place to raise a family, an ideal location for business, and a premier place to live. We're making huge strides. We have to stay on track. That's why I'm rerunning for council, because we've made a big difference. We can't afford to change course now.
Thank you. Lisa Duarte?
Yes, this seems to be a problem, not only a shortage of pediatricians, but doctors for older people as well. My doctor recently went somewhere else, so we need to make it attractive, whatever it takes to get these doctors to want to come here. We can't have sick children traveling, 1 or 2 hours to go some other place in order to get the care that they need. So I think we really need to do whatever it takes to get the doctors here.
Thank you, Lisa. Jeffrey Glatz?
Thank you. I'm going to call this the best and brightest syndrome. And what I mean by that is your community needs to attract the best and brightest to that. Doctors, lawyers, whatever they are. To do that, the quality of life, where they want to live, has to be your most important thing. They are moving to a community where their family is going to be raised. If you want to attract good doctors to the Enloe, just like they hire people just like any normal business, you need to create that environment where that family feels secure and safe. People do not need to come to Chico, nor want to come to Chico, unless they can feel safe and secure. This is evident there's another little .com in town who hired somebody in an executive position to come into town. They didn't last more than 8 months before they left because they didn't feel their family was safe. Everything goes together. To fix the medical problem, to get good doctors in, you have to fix your community. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Carl Ori?
married to a nurse practitioner, so I have to revise the question, and how do we attract doctors and nurse practitioners to Butte County? Kind of joke that we can expand primary health care by asking Linda to work longer hours, but I'm not sure I would get much agreement at home with that. I do believe this is an issue that we can work locally. I think we have a very strong healthcare system through Enloe. We're blessed with that. I wouldn't have said that 10 years ago, but I'm impressed. My wife does work for Enloe. She's at Prompt Care. You know, if somebody was in San Luis Obispo and they moved to Chico, they would have also have seen that housing costs are half of that in Chico than they are in San Luis Obispo. So I'm not quite sure that, I think the attraction to Chico is that we have housing opportunities for professionals that want to move here. I think that Enloe is on the cusp of opening a primary health care clinic, and I would support that and work with them any way we could to expand primary health care in our community.
Thank you, Carl. Tammy Ritter.
So when I had my son, I used Feather River because that's who was associated with my midwife, and I didn't realize that I was going to have to be getting my health care in a neighboring town. And then after, I continued to use Feather River down here in Chico, and my doctor recently left her practice to start a private practice with her husband. And when I hear, you know, maybe this is just all about partnership with Enloe, maybe this doesn't all rest with the hospitals. Maybe the manner in which the city can actually do something to attract healthcare providers to our town is the same way that we attempt to attract businesses, and that's with having regulations that are clear and consistent across the board, and that we have affordable housing available for the people who are going to work in these establishments, not just large houses for the doctors or the nurse practitioners, but that we have an available housing stock for everyone. And I got the red X.
Thank you, Tammy. John Scott.
Well, after listening to some of the earlier questions, seems like if vagrants were doctors, we wouldn't have a doctor shortage. So, you know, basically this is an economic and a lifestyle issue. In terms of economic incentive, well, doctors get paid pretty well, and they get paid pretty well everywhere, so I assume they probably get paid well here. So the other thing comes down to lifestyle. If you first come to Chico, other than trying to find a place to live, you probably head downtown. And when you trip over vagrants and walk around urine stains and defecation stains and get asked for money, when you pull into 7-Eleven to get a soda and there's 14 different people out in front that don't look like they've had a shower this century, that may dissuade your lifestyle choice. I see the X coming up. I think I would create attractions for doctors. I'd start by cleaning up downtown, maybe even put a medical facility in one of these empty buildings that would attract doctors. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Giovanni?
Thank you. This is actually a very personal question for me. My wife and I raised two small boys here in Chico, 6 and 8 years old. And we have had a horrible time getting to see a pediatrician. We've gone through a few, and then we do have the issue of the health care, and our health insurance doesn't cover this one or those, because those are issues that are a lot bigger than what we're talking about here. What we can do is we need to be able to attract doctors who are going to be moving here with their families. So they're thinking not just of their job, but they're thinking about moving to a place that is good for their family. In order to do that, we need to make this place a safe place to live for those children. We need to make sure that we have an economic vitality in this community so that those families actually can go shopping and get the things that they need here, and that those businesses don't feel threatened being here in Chico. And we need to create family spaces here in Chico. We're actually building the Chico Children's Museum downtown. And that's just one of dozens of family-oriented initiatives that we are doing in this community to attract families.
All right, thank you very much. So we're getting ready for closing statements. You'll still only have that, 60 seconds. Right? So as you think about that, I just want to mention to not only our candidates, but also to you. So I mentioned earlier that we're kind of kicking off the election season. By the time we all get together again as kind of a chamber community, it will be January for our annual dinner. There's information about that on the back of the vision moving Chico forward. But I wanted to say that we would love to see many of you, as many as would like to be there, and you as well, at our annual dinner, because it's where we will celebrate the people and the accomplishments of 2016, and we will, as a Chamber of Commerce, look forward to 2017 as well, laying out our agenda, where we are going, what we will accomplish together as a community. So we're beginning the conversation now, and we'll close this beginning of the conversation with our closing statements, and then over to Tony Scott for some closing remarks. But kicking it off is, at the end of the table, Sean Morgan.
Thank you. God, I'm so excited about this. I've waited a long time to say this. 4 years ago, I said we needed to be more strategic in running our city. We need to align the city council's agenda with the city's mission statement. Today, you've heard that from every candidate, the chamber, the DCBA. The chamber's community vision is basically a rehash of the vision statement, and I'm overjoyed that we're all moving forward together. Number two, I said we need to fix the budget. We need to know the real math and where we stood. We found out we were very near bankruptcy, 1 month away. Today, the budget's balanced, and we're building reserves. We said we need to provide collaboration between the city, the university, and local businesses. The relationship between the city and the university is better than it's been in a decade. And as you've heard, the chamber has fully embraced the direction of this council. And lastly, I said we needed a change in direction. Ladies and gentlemen, if we don't turn around now, we might just get where we're going. 4 years ago, that was a scary premise. Today, it's the root of our optimism. But it's not just me, it's we. It's the DCBA and the chamber and Clean and Safe and Team Chico and the hospital, the university, the police department, the fire department, our families, our businesses. I'm Sean Morgan. I'll appreciate your support, and I'll continue to stand up for our businesses and this community. Together, we've done a lot of great things. Together, we're going to do a lot more.
Council Member Sean Morgan, thank you very much. And we turn to Council Member Tammy Ritter.
Okay, thank you, Chamber and DCBA, for this opportunity to be here. I'm Tammy Ritter. I've been honored to represent you for the last 4 years as one of your city councilors. Along with my work on the council, I direct family court services for the Superior Court of California, spending my days mediating family disputes. My most important role, however, is being mom to a very active and inquisitive 4-year-old. It is because of my child that I am happily committed to ensuring that the city of Chico grows in a thoughtful and deliberate manner. I am personally invested in Chico being a safe and vibrant town and to preserving all that makes it so special. In my 4 years on council, I've chaired the Internal Affairs Committee, being privileged to work closely with issues that have the ability to truly affect the future of our city. I am committed to serving all of Chico, to listening to input from all parties, to compassionate responses to concerns facing our community. I'm Councilmember Tammy Ritter. I speak for the trees, for reinstating our tree crew, for having an urban forester, and for the environment.
Thank you very much. And now we go to candidate Carl Ori. Carl.
I had the pleasure last year being named the Environmentalist of the Year, and I wonder how much they did their homework, because I'm also a developer. I think I'm the only one up here that's built 6 subdivisions, and I think many of you in the audience understand how that tempers you. When you've invested everything you have in raw land, and you've hired the best engineers and the best contractors, but you're not sure you can make payroll because that loan yet hasn't come through, and you're not sleeping very well. I'm proud of that work, the hundreds of houses that I've built in Corning and Biggs and Hampton City and other communities. And I think that business experience has brought me, to this step of, after 35 years, trying again for the Chico City Council. This community elected me when I was 26 years old, changed my life. I owe a huge debt to Chico, and I'd like to help repay it. Thank you.
Thank you. And now candidate Loretta Torres.
I'm Loretta Ann Torres, and I urge you, if there are any questions you have about my qualifications for City Council, I urge you to go to my website, lorettatorres2016.com. If you want a city councilor who will watch the bottom line, who will watch out for you taxpayers, hardworking taxpayers of Chico, in order to have a balanced budget and enough police and fire and staff on your streets to keep you and your family safe, then I'm it. If you want a city councilor who will make decisions at the city council level that will encourage businesses to come to our city and to thrive and to flourish, then I'm your city councilor. I have 7 grandchildren in an area of 10 miles of Chico, and I have a passion to keep Chico, I love, safe and secure for them. Vote for me. My grandchildren and yours, should you have them, will be grateful.
Thank you. And now we move next door to candidate Lisa Duarte. Lisa?
Just a little bit about myself. Probably a lot of you know me, you just don't realize it. I'm the client experience coordinator at Valley Oak Veterinary Center. So if you bring your dog or cat there, you probably already have met me. I hope to improve our infrastructure, our economy, healthcare, help the homeless. I'm running for city council. I want to give the people of Chico a good experience and help everybody stay safe for your family and for mine as well. So I would appreciate your vote, and I thank you very much for all coming today and this experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And now we come down to this end, and we have Jeffrey Glatz. Jeffrey.
Thank you. My name is Jeffrey Glatz. I'm just going to read through a little statement, so I apologize if I had to make too much eye contact. I only have a minute. I got involved with the idea of running for city council because I was upset and disappointed with the city councils we've had over the past few years, and I thought I could make a difference. While we're finally on the right track, I really believe we have a long way to go. I met with many of the city leaders over the past couple of weeks, and what I've learned is just depressing and disheartening. We are not even close to being at a public safety level that should be acceptable to the public. Our children are not safe, our students are not safe, our neighbors are not safe. I do not want to have an average staff level at the police force. We're not even there yet. I want to have an above average staffing. I want Chico to be one of the most family-friendly and safe communities in America as it once was. I have come to learn that politics plays a huge role in our local government, which is supposed to be and must be nonpartisan. National political agendas should not be a part of our community, no matter how strongly you personally feel about them. Each local community is different and has its own unique challenges. If there's one thing I want to leave you with this, is this, that of all but one of the incumbents running for office have voted against every ordinance the police has tried to pass in their efforts to acquire additional tools so they can keep you safe and protect your families. Sean was the only one that voted for these. Our incumbents are more concerned with national civil liberties than they are with your personal rights. I'm sorry, but this is important. In our local community, in our neighborhoods, the family right behind me, people from the park broke into their homes while their children were sleeping. My wife has been attacked in that park with someone wielding a hypodermic needle. This is happening in our community on a daily basis, and it must be fixed. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's stay down at this end with Giovanni Triceri. Giovanni?
Great, thank you. We have 10 candidates here and 4 seats. I want to tell you 3 things that will distinguish me from any other candidate. 1, as I told you, in 2014, I wrote the police staffing plan that so far has seen a 10% drop in crime in the first half of this year. It's working. I wrote it. I brought stakeholders from a wide political and social spectrum to vet it, own it, and present it together to the City Council where they unanimously approved it. I am a dedicated advocate for businesses and have the credentials to prove it. I have brought organizations downtown, employment downtown, jobs downtown. I'm on the board of the DCBA. With my fellow teammates, we are bringing the Chico Children's Museum downtown to bring families back into downtown. Number 3, my approach to problem solving is collaborative, bipartisan, and focused on measurable outcomes. Thank you for your vote.
All right, thank you. Let's come right down here, a couple of thoughts to Ann.
No, thank you.
Councilmember Ann Schwab, your closing statement.
Thank you. Thank you, Chico Chamber of Commerce and Downtown Chico Business Association for hosting this event, and thank all of you for caring so much about Chico that you would come out on an early morning to find out what the council candidates have to say. Serving as your council member, I've built a reputation as a strong leader, advocating for a strong economy, assuring balanced growth, and enhancing Chico's neighborhoods. In addition to serving Chico locally, I represent Butte County regionally as the chair of the 6-county Northern Sacramento Valley Regional Integrated Water Management Board and advocate for protecting our surface water and preserving our aquifer for a strong agricultural economy. I believe in community service. I'm the director of CAVE, president of Chico Velo Cycling Club, and volunteer for Park Watch. I understand the importance of small business and value downtown as the heart of the community. My husband and I have owned campus bicycles for over 35 years, and I'm proud that Bud is the president of the DCBA. I believe in listening to others' viewpoints, considering all options, respecting differing opinions, and engaging in civil deliberations while making decisions affecting our community. I offer Chico experienced, thoughtful leadership. With your support, I will continue to be your voice on Chico City Council, and together we will move Chico forward.
Thank you. And now we will move right next door to Mr. John Scott, candidate Scott.
Thank you. So we are a university town, so I'm going to quote Clark Kerr, who was the first chancellor of the University of California, Berkeley. The status quo is the only solution that cannot be vetoed. Now, what's the status quo? Well, Ronald Reagan said that the status quo was basically Latin for the mess we are in. You know, the manager accepts the status quo, and the leader challenges the status quo. Right now, the status quo is a downtown that, despite, you know, all the proclamations to the contrary, it's rotting away. You get a block or two away and you're tripping over vagrants, pee pools, and feces piles. You're getting asked for money. So, you know, if you're tired of the status quo, make a change. You know, if you like what you have now, I guess stick with what you have now. I'm here to challenge the status quo. You deserve better than you're getting. I'll do my part to see that you get it. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Randall, let's land this thing. You're up last, and then we're going to turn it over to Tony Scott. But go ahead, Randall.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you all for being here. One of the things that's great about Chico is we have an engaged community, and you are all a representation of that. You know, I don't want to go on about my resume or my veto. All of those things are available on my website, stoneforcouncil.com. But I do want to highlight certain things. Certainly, leadership is a part of why the city is great. And 4 years ago, I promised some things. I promised we would keep the Chico Certified Farmers Market downtown, that I would implement pension reform, that our police staffing would be brought back up, and our budget accountability would be dedicated. All 4 of those things happened in my first 2 years, well within my first 2 years in office, and we've taken a step backwards from that point. But not just policy-related items. I fought to save Caper Acres by using alternative custody supervision sheriff's clients, which kept Caper Acres open. That wasn't a policy decision. That's something that I brought here. Butane honey oil was something I worked with my colleagues at the League of California Cities on. The next-door neighborhood and the community networking that I created helped stop some of the crime problems before the police department even knew about them. So those are the types of things that I'm dedicated to and working on. And finally, one last point. We can pass a public safety staffing plan, but that doesn't tell you how to pay for it. And in fact, that's the problem with some of these candidates up here. They'll tell you that we can promise to hire police officers. It's very easy to do, and we all knew that it needed to be done. But what I did was I presented a plan to pay for them. That was paid for 2 years ago, and now we've rolled that back, and we're short. Thank you.
Councilmember Stone, thank you very much.
You bet.
With that, Tony, I'm turning it all over to you. It's the floor is yours. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you to all the candidates this morning. And, there may be some disagreement, but I think one thing that I heard from all the candidates is that Chico is a very special place to live, a very special place to work. And hearing the thoughtful insight from all of the candidates today just makes me even more honored to live in Chico. So I want to, again, end by thanking the legacy and visionary members for the Chico Chamber of Commerce one more time. So Legacy, Levity HR and Payroll, Golden Valley Bank, Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, Tri-Counties Bank, and our visionary members, Alliance for Workforce Development, Anderson and Associates, Enloe Medical Center, 5 Star Bank, Healthy Solutions Insurance Services, LRT Graphics, PG&E, and Recology Butte-Colusa Counties, TransferFlow, and Walmart. Thank you to the audience for coming out this morning. We really appreciate it. Again, one more note, we didn't get to all of your questions, I know, and they are very important, so I just remind you we are going to bring those to the candidates and hopefully get a questionnaire out. It'll be up on our website, so you can check that out. And also, one more reminder for the YPO candidate mixer. So it'll be October 19th from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. at 220 Restaurant. Thanks again to Dutch Brothers, Card, and Toller AV for their hospitality and accommodations, and have a great morning. One more thing, if you have moved in the last couple of years since the last time you voted, if you've had a change in your name, please re-register to vote. The post office is right across the street, so on the way out you can stop by there and get a form to re-register to vote. Thank you.
And Tony, let's give our candidates all the bravery, the great candidates, a round of applause. Thank you all.